because when you get together with the right person and you set the dynamic of open communication from the start, that's how it's going to develop into the future. But at the end of the day, as you mentioned, it's all about the small things. We make a choice every single day what we do in our relationship. And it's those little gestures, those little things we do for each other. That's what accumulates into the relationship. This is what the relationship is all about. Not some huge gestures. No, it's the small, tiny little things that truly count and that can help to sustain this relationship in the long run. I have created an ebook. I think it's like 20 pages. And I called it How to Know You Have Met the One, Compatibility in Dating. And it's 5 crucial conversations for compatibility. And I break it down into various topics. And it's discussions about trust and commitment. It's discussions about sex and intimacy, money and finances, growth and spirituality, goals and dreams and ambitions. Because the thing is that what trust and commitment is for me does not necessarily mean the same thing for you. This is what compatibility is all about, to truly understanding each other and then taking all of that collected data and making a decision. And from that decision, you make a life story. So instead of looking for a love story that just will be like falling off out of the sky, you actually need to focus on making a life story happen that will turn into a love story if you do it the right way.
Are any of the men that you work with afraid to take that first step towards that path? Because it seems like it could be, in some cases, not a step, but a leap into that direction.
Oh, yes, absolutely. It is all about baby steps. It is, and oftentimes it is baby steps, very, very small steps. It is difficult. It is difficult. And, I sit here today, as I mentioned, 45. I feel I am so much smarter, and I have so much more wisdom nowadays. But hey, I was the one a few years back, 10, 20 years ago. I had no idea how to relationship. I had no communication skills. I actually expected my ex-partners to read my mind. They're gonna need to figure out what I'm thinking because I did not communicate it, right? But for men to ask these deep questions, it's difficult because not every woman is willing to answer. This is why everything has to be addressed from the place of togetherness, as we mentioned earlier. Are we in it together? Do we go together against the challenge, or do we go against each other? Big difference.
I could see how that can be scary for a lot of people. You're giving up a piece of yourself, you're being vulnerable, and that's so scary. Like, if I put myself in a situation where I'm going to say that I'm going to open up to you because I want to get to know you, you have the ability to hurt me deeply, or you have the ability to love me deeply. But if I look in my, and I always equate to like dating as like a car, right? You look through the windshield, you're driving straight. You can look to the left to see what's in your blind spots, left and right, and that's like our maybe our triggers or blind spot, right? But every once in a while, you look up and you look at the rearview mirror and you see all the chaos you left behind you, the bad relationships, the toxicity, everything, right? But there's some of us as we drive, we're always looking in the rearview mirror because that's our focus. We're not focused on what's in front of us, which leads us to crash and cause all these other accidents. And that's how I see some people's dating experience because they're like, Terrain, I was married before. He or she took everything from me. Terrain, I was in a long term relationship. We lived together. They got the house. You hear all these stories. They seem to forget that there was a point in time where there was some goodness in that relationship. How do you help them? How do you help the men that you deal with to remember that as bad as you think it was, doesn't necessarily mean that your future has to be as bad?
This is an excellent point that you have just brought up, and your car analogy is perfect for this. I ask a question, and the question is super simple, but typically I have almost everybody who I have asked this question have a revelation. And the question is, are you running away from something or are you going towards something? And this is the difference, because very often we don't realize we're trying to escape something unpleasant, stressful we had experienced in our past. And we're so desperate to get away from it that we are completely going in blind into the next connection because we're still looking back, we're running away instead of leaving that behind, but paying attention to what is up front. And it's absolutely crucial. And I found myself as well some time ago realizing that I got out from one marriage, I made adjustments as I thought I learned, to only later realize that I ran away from the problems in my first marriage. I thought I adjusted in my second marriage, but I didn't adjust it to be in the second marriage. I adjusted to avoid what I had, the problems in my first marriage, which consequently caused challenges in my second marriage. So the question is, are you running away from something or are you going toward something? And once you are able to answer that, this is a deep enough of a revelation for somebody to pause and hopefully start making changes.